Menzies Foundation is building a leadership movement which encourages essentially a pivot to purpose. I'm joined now by the CEO, Liz Gillies. Liz, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It's lovely to be here.
Tell us a little bit about the Menzies Foundation and the work that you do.
So the Menzies Foundation, we have a very specific way we think about philanthropy and our contribution to the very serious challenges that the world's facing. We're not a large foundation. We don't have enormous reserves of grants and other capacities. So we've had to be very specific about the way that we work, and we positioned ourselves as system entrepreneurs. We position ourselves in systems to bring our grants and our corpus to develop platforms, incubators to address challenges at scale. And all of our work is in aid of contributing to a leadership movement that encourages people to deeply consider their purpose and the values and principles that underpin it, to in doing that appreciate our collective responsibility and then to act for the greater good.
So you've been in philanthropy for a while. So what you've just described, is that for you a new way of doing things?
So I've spent 20 or 30 years cultivating ways of thinking about this practice in philanthropy. And there's no doubt that philanthropy has enormous capacity to be a field builder, to be a bridge builder. Many of the issues that we're facing or discussing in this conference require multi-sector collaborations and new ways of working in deep collaboration to uncover innovation. It's not possible to do that by funding programs for short time cycles. It requires a very different type of coalescence and collaboration. And there are very few other protagonists in this space that have the capacity to dream and work in that way. And as I said, the Menzies Foundation's work with Skoll Foundation, field building, our work in best practice in building out this incubator model, our connection now increasingly beyond Australian shores really demonstrates the power and importance of that model. And when I come to a conference like this, to be honest, there's so much exciting innovation that's happening around capital, but still so much of the way we talk about what's happening on the ground really still relates to what programs are being funded. And that's not going to solve. We need to find new ways of working that builds the same ambition of unlocking capital that the impact investment community is engaging with in terms of how philanthropy takes place on the ground.
Well, when you came in and sat down with me today, you started talking about this incredible meeting that you'd just come from. This is all about new ways of doing things.
Well, even being at this conference, to be honest, offers that opportunity. I mean, the idea, when you work in uncertainty and emergence, when you're seeking to unlock innovation, you have to have an appetite that you'll sit not necessarily knowing the answer, but that being willing to suspend what you think is the answer to work with others in a co-design process to unlock potentially, as I said, way to unlock new ways of thinking and working. Attending this conference has all of those elements. I've had a series of extraordinary meetings across the last 2 days with people from every part of Asia, so aligned around an ambition, deeply driven by purpose, struggling to find ways to engage in newer and deeper collaborations to solve these problems at scale.
Are you optimistic when you look out into the future?
Well, to be honest, I come to this conference and I feel full of optimism that you have such an extraordinary group of people from every part of Asia, not necessarily speaking the same language, not necessarily understanding or coming from the same perspective, but with a deep and abiding commitment to a purpose-led world where the greater good predominates our responsibilities to each other, both individually, from an organisational, community and global perspective. And I think just the fact that people are prepared to coalesce, to grapple with the challenges, to sit in a context of, having deep listening because of so many different people from so many different parts of the world is an enormous cause for optimism. The thing is, how do we take that kernel of hope and ambition and make it manifest when we leave these places and go back into our work? To be honest, if I had to say anything, I think philanthropy needs to lift the bar. I think that we need less congratulation. I think we need to hold ourselves to much higher levels of aspiration around impact. And I think we need to take out what clearly is that ambition in the messaging and the themes in this conference and think about what that means in terms of the work that we do when we get back home.
Liz, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's delightful. Thank you very much.